Alrighty. Welcome back to Jacob V Weekly. We want to start like we do every week by inviting you to reach out to Caddyshack of Hamel, Illinois, caddyshackil.org. They're also on my website, jacobv.com, jacobvi.com. Patreon.com/JacobV is the only way to support this show financially. It's $1 a week at the paid tier of $4 a month. We've also started doing free weekly editorials there where I just kind of go in there and I start writing something that I'm passionate about in a very articulate way until I run out of steam and I hit send because the RFT is in the river Des Perez. We're back for PrideStream number 4, or maybe it's 3. Did we determine it's 4?
We've determined that it is 3.
It is 3.
But we called the last one 3.
You did.
Well,
Yeah,
you know
so-
what? You know why that might be? Because Thanksgiving skipped number 2. They did Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving 3 and released it as a box set, but there was no number 2.
I don't see how that applies.
I think that maybe is where I got that idea.
I don't even know what Thanksgiving is.
So this is the 9th annual Jacob V Weekly Pride Stream.
We've been doing this for 10 years
We've
already.
been this is our 10th year. We're
Are you
going on.
serious?
We're going on 11 years.
Holy shit.
And it just flies right by when you have natural chemistry like the three of us do, and you have such a similar structure of trauma and dogma to wear in common. I mean, we don't even need these notes.
Mm-mm.
No.
We don't need them. Do you know? I was thinking about this today.
Yeah.
I have a level of openness in my life that I've pursued most of my life where I try to be welcoming and appreciative and not just accepting, but appreciative and thankful for all kinds of people.
Yeah.
We're all similar enough in age. Are you 33?
I am 33.
Are you 30?
I'm 34.
I'm 33, just
When
like
do you
Jesus.
turn 34?
October 10th.
My wife
You're
is
a
the
baby.
17th.
Yeah, that's a little baby.
January
Just a
14th.
little baby.
What
I
year
don't
did you
have any money.
What year did you graduate high school?
2009.
Okay. I, for some reason, thought you were in the same graduating class.
You're 08.
I'm
I
08,
assume.
yeah.
Jacob, are you?
9.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
He took more time in college.
I did. I took an extra.
Oh, you took more time in college.
He took
Oh.
5. He
No.
paid
4.5.
He paid the equivalent of 9 years of tuition for 5 years of tuition that was scheduled for 4 years of tuition. Correct?
Amazing.
So he started college when I was still in high school.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
And then we walked together
Yeah.
as brothers.
Because
As brothers.
I technically graduated the spring before, or the fall before
Oh yeah,
you.
but you got to walk with
But
everybody.
I walked with everybody.
Yeah.
So you were only a semester over? So
Yeah.
you were done with student teaching before me?
So I student taught the fall of 2012 and graduated, got my diploma in December of 2012. But then I walked with you in May of 2013. So I was in the classroom
Well, what were you doing that semester?
that you were student teaching. I was working at Quick Trip and got a long-term position over at Eureka High School. So I was teaching when I walked at graduation.
That's why we were all still drunk from the night before.
I was so drunk. Yeah.
And like one semester off, that's like literally not a big deal at all.
And some of those
No.
I'm
people
33 and I still am in my gap year from.
Yeah, your gap.
I'm
If I
gapped
switched
up.
I'm like
majors,
80% done.
You were gaping right now.
I'm gaping. I'm in my gape year.
I'm
my
in-
gape
yeah,
decade.
it's
really.
pronounced gape.
Gape. Gape. That's pronounced
Pride Stream
gape.
number 8. We're back in the saddle. It's been 30 long years.
It's been 82 years.
We never stopped. Actually, we have always been here.
Yeah.
Being gay and Catholic mostly is our vibe,
Yeah.
and it expresses itself in different ways. This is what happens if you got to choose. If you know you got a gay baby, it's going to be one of these 3 people.
Yes.
You got to choose the structure of your life. If you were going to raise your gay baby in the Catholic Church, you get one of these 3 options.
And I think we all pay it forward. So
And we
that's
pay it
good.
forward.
I did.
I'm saving lives
did.
every
Yeah.
day.
I
Every
call it.
single day.
I've been thinking in my head a lot recently that this has been my penance.
Uh-huh.
Like I confess my sins, and I've just lived through all of that, and
Yeah.
so I did it. I'm done. You know,
I'm totally
gave back.
in my next chapter. Like I recently did acid and became a completely new person.
Really? You didn't
I
tell
mean,
me that.
Well, it was just on Sunday. Like
did you do the?
Oh,
did you have
God.
an ego death?
I've had several ego deaths.
Keenan did that. I accidentally did that to my wife with cannabis.
With shrooms, I have them. With acid, it allowed me to remember things for a longer period of time. Where shrooms, kind of like I have a really good line of thought, and then it just disappears. Like, what was I talking about? Like in the middle of what I'm saying. But acid, I was able to hold on to those thoughts for much longer. But I guess I'm just like really sensitive to it because I went into like a bad trip where like time felt like it was like ripping apart.
Ooh.
Like it felt like a mirror realm that I was in. Like it really felt like in Doctor Strange when he follows Tilda Swinton through the is that time? That's time, yeah.
Yeah. It is itself time.
Yeah. And it felt like I could see splinters of myself, like shadow work. Like that's coming up in my life a lot. Like people talking about shadow work. I haven't actually like done a deep dive into it, but it sounds.
I don't even know how to define it.
It's like a splintered version of yourself that is like what comes up with like strong emotions, like.
Oh, like a hyper-focused version of yourself that exists in that emotion.
Yeah, and in sort of like a shamanic perspective, you do work with your shadow self to sort of heal those traumas.
So parents at home, this is what I'm saying. If you have a gay Catholic baby, you get to choose which one of these routes we're going to go down. But all roads kind of do lead this way. They're trying to teach us about this because it is the next step in civilization.
It's been around forever, like these shamanic practices.
But they're trying to teach everybody this. That's why you have like the Infinity Gauntlet saga, and we have a reference for Doctor Strange. It's like mainstream culture is trying to explain to us that there is reality beyond the current limited linear dimension we live in.
I was thinking actually when you described mirror, I was thinking Neverending Story, the scene where Atreyu gets up to that mirror and Bastion is standing on the other side.
See, okay, so yes, but like from my perspective, I felt more natural and more human in those moments of being on acid than ever in my life because we've been told as gay Catholics that we're unnatural in a sense, you know? Oh, and so like I felt so
liberated from
because me as myself, as this like queer individual has been around for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's only through this power struggle between like colonialism and capitalism versus humanity. And so it's nothing new.
Right.
And I think that we're just in a huge fight on being honest with ourselves.
Being honest with ourselves, but also like being honest about history, you know, like because I've been thinking about that a lot too. I think it may be going into our 30s is why we start thinking this way.
Yeah.
But I've also been like, shit, if I've thought this way my entire life, starting with however the fuck long ago that was, there are people within my lineage of history who have also experienced this thing. And there will be also more after me, even if I'm not going to have kids myself. And I have to imagine that the world's had to have been so obviously different, even just 50 years ago with the queer community. But even, 50 years ago isn't really that long anymore. But,
no, it's 70.
Actually, that's the thing. 50 years ago was some of the worst times for gay people. But then if you go even further back, you're talking about like ancient history.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a life, you know, like you talk about indigenous cultures, like two spirits.
Yes.
Like those it's a common thing. And like what it is that we are shamed and like hurt into these corners of our lives that we have to spend a lot of time unfolding and
Have you watched the movie I Saw the TV Glow? I just saw it a couple weeks ago. Have you seen any previews for it? It's a new A24 movie.
Oh, I love A24.
Can I tell you about it real quick?
Yeah.
So basically, I won't say the whole thing, but it's Justice something from the Pikachu movie.
I love him.
He's great.
From Detective Pikachu?
Yeah.
The mixed race gentleman?
Yeah,
he is precious.
So it's like he's in the 7th grade in 1996 and he meets this
I like it. I like the concept already.
Yeah. 7th grade 1996, he meets this girl who's in the 9th grade and she introduces him to this show called The Pink Opaque, which is like a hybrid of Alex Mack and like Buffy, and it's got all of these 90s elements of those weird TV shows we used to watch. And as the movie goes on, I don't want to reveal too much, but I would love to talk about it like post watching
Sure,
it because I don't want to spoil it.
Right.
But like a big thing for me watching it was just how this kid reacted to seeing someone on the television that he just wished was the person he was, right?
Yeah.
But then also the idea of burying your secrets until you die, right? And like how many people before us have had to just like know who they are at a certain point and then bury that so far deep inside of them that it drives them fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was thinking about driving to work this morning, is that I accomplished all of my life goals that were ingrained in me in the context of my environment and the value system of that environment. I accomplished all of those at or by 29. Which also means I didn't know that I had value beyond those things.
Yeah.
Because my environment hadn't reflected that. My
Exactly.
environment had only reflected that I had to, pursue certain checkpoints in life in a successful way to be valuable as a person.
Yeah.
And that took 29 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then in, using like microdosing psilocybin in quarantine while abstaining from alcohol for the first time, and then being in therapy some of that time before I got fired by my therapist because my debit card got declined. And and then
is that after a session or before the next?
And also, this
was
one
before the
one
next one.
decline and then out.
Well,
she has to be more compassionate.
At one
Apparently
point,
not.
at one point, her office. She emailed me and said, "Hey, I can't see you today because you owe us $800."
Oh my god!
Which means that I guess they hadn't had a method of payment for me for several months. Those are just like $40 copays that they let
Sounds like
stack
it's
up
on
like that
them.
because their billing department was one lady who was in over her head, and she would call you once on the phone, but you couldn't get her back because she was always on the phone because she doesn't need people to call. And then, and so if you teach like I was, you can't just answer the phone anytime you want. So even if you know who's calling,
Right.
I can't just answer the phone. Now, people I work with do you all the time.
Yeah.
Who are they always talking to? We'll get to this. People that I work with will walk in on the phone and they are on the phone every time I see them throughout the day.
Are they
and
on, like,
leave on the phone
Bluetooth headphones?
often?
Yeah.
But plenty of them hold it up to their head and they'll be walking out of the park. I'm like, who is he talking to? Not even that he shouldn't be talking to somebody, but who is it?
Who is it?
Because I don't even like talking on the phone.
I bet it's someone I'm working with. People, I swear to God, there are people that I work
build
with.
a map.
Yeah, there are people at the library that are like on the phone all day.
They're talking to each other.
Yeah, that's what I for real have been
Guys,
wondering.
I want you to think, this
Yeah.
is just like when Joe Dirt said, do you ever look at the moon and think that maybe I'm also looking at that same moon and that we're like connected that way?
Yeah, that's. Do you want to put me back into my acid trip because that's what it
we're-
was?
This is all coming back together.
Yeah.
I'm very good at this.
Oh,
I have not
baby,
lost the
10
plot.
years.
This is the 11th Pride stream. You would think by now you would know. But anytime you see one of your colleagues on the phone at work and they're talking to somebody that you don't work with, I want you to imagine all of the network of people that they are connected to, all of the co-workers across America, probably the world, who are on the phone at work. They're talking to each other.
I actually think that all the time.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Dean, are you getting this?
I'm getting this.
Dean! Shout out to
I'm with
Dean
you.
in the booth today.
Just like, I just
Today.
I feel so bad.
Dean, why?
Because one time I had an ex-girlfriend who we have remained good friends because we really learned how to be crazy and live in the world together at a prime age, and she's great. She was first chair violinist for a community college orchestra here locally, and she invited me to one of their concerts. It was free. I wanted to be supportive, but I walk in and I don't see her, and there's an empty chair. The orchestra is seated. I'm seated. The audience is seated. The conductor comes out, and then they invite her out, and the whole place goes crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know. You invited me to come see a student orchestra, and I'm in here, and everyone's clapping for you.
Yeah.
So last time we did a Pride stream, last summer
in 1957.
in 1957, we were live streaming it from my basement with cameras that maxed out at 1080p. And
Well, I had that New Hampshire internet.
Well, we did last summer. You were on my couch.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then and we had no additional lighting and some of the same microphones, but today we have all this lighting. We have a new friend of ours, Dean, is in the booth.
Hey.
So that Lucius can be on the mic, and I was late because I had to go grab the cameras and whatnot. And I walk in, and Tim is just everyone's setting all this stuff up, and Tim's in a new place, and there's lights going up. And
we had a nice, wonderful, welcoming conversation.
no, I just thought it was funny. I didn't tell him, oh, we're doing this at a studio. It's nothing like last time. It's not live.
Oh, yeah.
It's pre-recorded, and then later, because we got to make it look good,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be lights.
This is if we go from last year's stream to this year's stream, like it's a huge.
We got to do a side by side.
Yeah.
For sure.
And but so welcome to the party, pal. Did you hear that guy was porking P. Diddy?
What?
Okay. So put a pin in mushrooms for a minute.
Got it.
That Carl, what was his name, Dean? Carl he was the police officer, and he was Sergeant Al Powell in Die Hard.
Oh fuck.
Wait, Carl Winslow? From
Carl Winslow.
Family Matters?
Carl Winslow.
There was an interview I saw today of a guy who is a rapper or an entourage person of rappers who was saying, again, apparently, that he was at a party at P. Diddy's house and he heard somebody having a sexual encounter in a room.
Yeah.
And he was at a party being funny, so he just kicked the door open, and it's P. Diddy and Carl Winslow.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Which-
I love the visual.
Which
That's
here's
so
the thing.
interesting. to
Here
me.
is the thing.
Yeah.
If anything about this is nefarious or illegal or abusive in any way, I'm certainly not for that.
Absolutely.
Oh.
However, if we're talking about
Detestable.
two successful gentlemen having an encounter at a party,
Yeah.
that is exciting to
That
me.
is
Very
really
exciting.
That is
exciting.
because Die Hard is my favorite movie of all time, up there with Purple Rain.
I love a mustached
And-
bottom too.
Oh my God. Just to imagine.
I did not think that.
I believe
Carl
Carl
would be the
Winslow is
bottom.
alleged to have been performing orally on Mr. Combs.
Oh, I believe. Okay, that's
I
interesting.
believe is the allegation from the interview I saw. It's as graphic as I ever like to get.
That is so random that it has to be real.
It has
That's
to be.
so random.
That would be so wild for that guy to make that up.
Yeah, that is so wild to choose that guy.
And it's a first degree reference. He said he saw it with his eyes. And he's not saying
Yeah.
he heard it from a
Wait,
person.
who was the guy who busted in the door?
Okay, he was he's a B-list famous person.
so
of some
he was
kind. He's some kind of a
entourage of
either a rapper or
Diddy's.
a party guy from. I think he's also himself a rapper, but I didn't
Yeah.
recognize his name, and so I didn't
It was
remember.
Nelly.
It was local legend Nelly Furtado.
Nelly Furtado. Hey, she just put out a NPR Tiny Desk concert.
Yeah,
it was great.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it good? I need to watch
Yeah.
it. I need to
I
give
love
her
Nelly
another
Furtado.
shot. I got a little sick of her with not her first album. Her first album was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But that second one with Timbaland, I got a little sick of her.
I
And her
love
attitude,
Maneater.
I wanted
I
her
was
to
here for
be
Maneater.
some of the song. Yeah, you do like that song.
I do.
She's
That's a good one.
re-releasing it in a different
She's doing a
DJ.
Taylor's version.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Did you know that she actually cut back on performing because she had a like an anxiety attack?
Oh, that's what happened to Bo Burnham.
Nelly Furtado.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a
she
lot.
put out those like she put out the I'm Like a Bird album, which was awesome. I loved it. And then the next one was that Promiscuous
Uh-huh.
album with Timbaland. And then
Mhm.
she put out one in Portuguese
Hmm.
because she's like part Brazilian, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she was touring and she had a breakdown. And so she like put a pause on her career. And she re-released a song recently with Tovlo and
Oh, sick.
some guy. He's in the new album of Tovlo's. I can't remember the DJ. But it's a good song.
Yeah.
I like that she's coming back out with some music.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shania did the same thing. Lost her mind, had some babies, stayed home,
Yeah.
back out there.
Yeah.
I mean, ticket prices are what ticket prices
Wasn't
are.
Shania
Can
cheated
do
on?
that.
Well,
With-
Shania
yeah.
married a monster and a goblin who's
Yeah.
probably an alien. He can't even really be photographed. If you've ever seen a photograph of Mutt Lang, he's hard to even perceive. But he is masterful at what he does, and he created a sound that he then applied to her aesthetic musically, and it was really beautiful. And I hear they have some lovely children. Funny enough, I've never seen pictures of them. And but no, I can't imagine, as successful and driven as he is, that he would be a good husband.
Yeah. Do you guys not know the tea on that though?
On Shania and
Shania.
Mutt
Do
Lange?
you?
Yeah.
I don't
That-
know it.
Oh,
I don't
that
know all
he
of it.
he was cheating on her, and with this random. I don't know if it was a random woman, just woman. And then the husband of that woman and Shania ended up getting married.
Okay,
And
Oh, well, that's beautiful.
yeah, so she ended up finding her husband through
that's right.
the woman that was cheating on.
That's how that
Him
should
with her
always
husband.
happen. Like
Yeah.
if two married people get divorced because they're seeing each other,
Mhm.
they should have to like send those other two on a date together just to see.
And I know
just to see,
somebody who.
Like, how would it be?
We'll call it the Shania Foundation,
Yeah.
and
I-
we'll.
So I
Isn't
know
that
somebody
just
who
wife swap?
toured with Shania Twain as their drummer,
Oh.
and he was like, Shania Twain is just as like wonderful as you would
I-
expect.
Oh,
I
thank God,
believe
because
that.
I love her.
I
Yeah.
do believe
One of my
that.
best family memories is we're on a speedboat with another couple who I don't think they had kids yet, but my parents
Uh-huh.
and us, which is a rare core memory to have because they were only married a couple times and not for very
Only
long.
a couple times.
Yeah, and never for very long. And blasting that whole Shania album, the big one that blew up with "Honey, I'm Home" on it.
Yeah. The it's like the high exposure, like
Yeah.
sort of,
Which is
warm
funny
red.
because that's how Mutt Lange always looks. Because again, he's
Oh.
hard to perceive.
Yeah.
He's either so
So
Caucasian or he's like a reptilian. If you told me Mutt Lange was a reptilian, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
Is that her ex-husband's name?
Mutt Lange. Yeah, he
Lange?
was-
Mutt Lange.
He's very successful
Good
producer
name.
ever before her. He was Def Leppard.
Oh.
And if it's so funny, if you know about mixing and audio and whatnot, if you go to listen to that stuff and really try to figure out what his thing is,
Yeah.
the same things that are missing intentionally from a Shania record are the same things you hear carved out of Def Leppard. Like
Interesting.
it's very much he carves all of the frequencies from everything away except for the exact ones he wants, and then he cranks them.
Hmm.
So, and he also did "You and I" by Lady Gaga.
Oh, wow.
That makes a lot. Okay,
So
now
if you-
it's sort of like clicking. 'Cause,
So-
yeah.
The drums from "You and I" by Lady Gaga are the drum beat from "We Will Rock You" just slowed down, which was used by permission from Brian May because he did the guitar solo on it.
Yeah.
And then Mutt Lange produced the whole record
Huh.
with that drum sample, and then Brian May's new guitar solo. And if you go listen to it next to Shania and next to Def Leppard, you hear that it's exactly produced by the exact same guy, and it sounds really, really good
Yeah.
because he's like just deleting anything that might not sound good and just cranking everything that sounds nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the vocals, that's the guitars for sure. Which is funny because Def Leppard was doing like the Boston thing where they were going DI with all the guitars.
Uh-huh.
So there was no miking, there was no room noise, there was
Mhm.
no of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like before Sans Amps, but like that same thing.
Yeah.
Back to
Was
gay.
that, was that cutting edge at the time?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. The guy from Boston invented that.
Oh, really?
He invented the Rockman X100 or whatever,
Mhm.
which was called a headphone amp, but it was also like a DI
Mm.
solution for you could get a full quality crank guitar tone direct into your
Oh, cool.
captured device, which
Yeah.
at the time would have been a tape machine.
Mm-hmm.
And he built that for himself mostly, but then turned it into a company. And then Sans Amp kind of continued that kind of
Cool.
thing.
Yeah, that makes
Uh,
sense.
So I hate to take you on that whole trip, Tim, but it's important.
That was really interesting. I love listening to you talk.
Oh, that's why I bring him back. I mean,
Yeah.
can you?
That's why we've been doing this for at least.
This is
80
why
years.
guys. This
So
is
long.
This is why Michelle Visage is still. I took this advice from RuPaul
Okay.
because I asked Ru. I said, Ru, why Michelle Visage again? And she said, honey, you can't buy chemistry.
Right.
And so when you find it, you
You
got to
find
bring that bitch back.
Bring it back.
I do
bring it
love
back.
a good RuPaul quote.
Yeah.
She told me that.
Yeah.
She was saying it into a camera
To who?
years before.
My RuPaul quote is to not take life too seriously.
My RuPaul quote is, "It's none of your business what other people think of you."
Oh, I love that
Yeah,
one.
and I think about that all the time.
It's none of your business what other people think of you.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That is so
it is so
good.
liberating because that's what we need
Yeah.
is liberation.
Yeah.
And can I actually like loop that back around to the other conversation, because what's most important about it is that, like, when I was talking about like the shame that we all like live with because we've been told that we're unnatural in whatever way, is that's what needs to be getting rid of. Like, we're not trying to like make people us, and I'm not trying to be other people.
Yeah.
I just want you to just like acknowledge me that I'm a human, and then leave me the fuck alone.
And sometimes I'd rather they not acknowledge me.
That's fine too. But
I'd
like,
rather them
it's
just let me live in my liberty
like,
and my choices.
I am a human. I am doing human things. I like
You're
the-
not
the
evangelizing
queer
your
that I
lifestyle.
feel
Yeah.
is that's just another name for something else
Mhm.
that was another thing that happened a long time ago too. It's just we're renaming the same stuff.
Yeah. I also think that, like, I'm sick of everyone having opinions on it all the time
Yeah.
that don't need to have opinions on it.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I'd like for you to know who I am, but I also don't really care if you know who I am or not.
Mhm.
The people who are invited to that are invited to it, and the people who want to celebrate in it, and those of you who don't can just get fucked.
Mhm.
But I'm also just really tired of like everybody constantly talking about like having opinions on gender, having opinions on sexuality
Yeah.
in the realm of like law, right? In the realm of like
Yes.
policy, in the
Yeah.
realm of just like how we see things. Yeah, I'm just it's just tiring. And I
When you
think
put
that
a
said
box
that.
on it,
Yeah.
like whether it's a law or
Yeah.
a policy
Right.
or a rule or your lifestyle, your religion,
It's so weird.
when you box it up, you like there's displacement that happens,
Right.
You know, because you're like trying to inch this all over the population, and then you end up with this displacement. You end up with mental health issues. Then there's the decline of humanity.
What
in
makes me
itself.
crazy
Like,
is you see people that are succeeding in a life in the mainstream culture in some way. White suburbanites, let's say.
Yeah.
Cisgendered, heterosexual white suburbanites.
yeah,
When they have an opinion that they offer on these issues, it's exhausting to me because they've intentionally removed that diversity from their life.
yeah,
And nobody's asking them.
yeah.
But they want everything to stay in line with the reality they've constructed for themselves.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean. That demographic has done with the standard of living that they've inherited is they've built up homogeny around them.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it is just like the areas of the map that you haven't been to on Zelda yet. You know what I mean? It's just foggy and you don't get to see what it is yet.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that acts contradictory to that is threatening to them. They act like they like freedom so much.
Yeah.
But when you let everybody be free, they're going to express freedom in a way that may not be in Congress with your dogma and your doctrine for how you raise your children or your life.
Yeah.
But it's actually none of your business.
Some people just be looking for a fight too.
Oh yeah, they're
You know,
bored. They're
bored.
so bored that they're like, I have to go impose my expectations on somebody, even if I don't really care, because I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, I mean, like I think because I just recently did acid in my mind, sort of in that like
Are you still on
metaphysical
acid
sense,
30
you know?
years later.
Like I just like think about it in the sense that like they are hurt too. Those people that are mad, like they are hurt too.
Yeah.
Like they've had full lives of disappointment and displacement.
This is such an interesting
and-
thing that you were alluding to, is
Yeah.
that because the thing I wanted to mention that you're talking about is the problem with like people who we don't think we're forcing anything on them. They want to go and use their platform that may not even be about this to talk about these issues in a negative way.
Yeah.
It's like an unforced error. Like nobody asked them. Right.
Yeah.
And like you'll see stand-up comedians want to bring it up for some reason. Like anybody wants to talk about it any more than we've already talked about
They just
it.
like feel like that's their position in the world to
And they're not
to
even
do.
they're not making jokes really. They're like just like asserting that they're not with that shit.
Observational, like
they're not
like
with
the Cat
all that
Williams
gay
woke
shit.
Folk,
It's like,
or what is that? What was that called?
I didn't even watch it because you
Disney
told me
special.
about it, and I was like, I can't.
Did I tell you I went to Cat Williams?
When?
Chaffetz.
Oh, really?
In the fall,
How was it?
think. We left after there was a trans joke.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for an open. Well, really, so I wanted to get tickets because I wanted to see if Monique was going to open, because I was really into hearing about Monique versus Tyler Perry and Oprah.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to witness a viral moment, but it never came because Monique did not open for Cat Williams.
Oh, damn.
So it was fine. I left. That's it.
But that's the one of the many examples I'm talking about is like, and we encounter it because we work with all kinds of creative people.
Yeah.
That the comedians who are cisgendered and heterosexual will just choose to spend time talking about that in a way that may even be funny to them, but is also totally unnecessary. It's like they're choosing to be confrontational because they know they're going to upset somebody about an issue that actually doesn't touch their life at all. Because I want to say this to those people, because I see some of these issues on the front line as it plays out with their children, is that the gay kids at school are not trying to make your kids gay. Your kids are beating the shit out of them. Is what and that's just me, what I've witnessed in 10 years.
Yeah.
Of the people that I see in the media that are like, I don't want gay kids at my kid's school. I'm like, one, you should pay for your kid to go to school then, you pile of shit. You probably don't even own the building you live in. Two, that's how I really feel.
I love that.
Well, I'm like, if you really want to be about some shit, send your fucking kid to some school where they won't let them be anything other than what you
those
want them to be.
Those kids are still there. You know?
And it's like, I mean, they want to, and it happened in a generation. Public school in the 90s became so much more inclusive, in a way that we were just taught a certain. Oh, you guys don't know what I'm talking about.
No,
you guys went to Catholic school,
right?
So, but like Captain Planet, like where they have like one kid of every race and shit. That was all of anything in the schools, like all of the scholastic materials of any kind.
Yeah,
it was like upping the diversity like crazy, and the textbooks were all like Jose and somebody else. It was never like Sally and Timmy.
Yeah,
it was always like trying to be inclusive in that way, which I always liked. But we were also taught to value that.
Yeah,
we were taught that it was that way on purpose, and we never had examples otherwise, because I got kicked out of Catholic school after kindergarten. So that's how about some shit I am. One, my kindergarten was on Kings Highway because I'm from the streets. Two, I got kicked out that bitch because you can't put liberty in a box. I thought that I was in kindergarten telling the nuns I thought this was America.
Was that Lourdes?
St. Mary Magdalene.
St. Mary.
R.I.P. That's not a school anymore. The church is still standing there. I drive by it all the time. The exact grounds I went missing on because I just sat behind a bush and just didn't respond when they called my name over and over again. That big bitch could have gotten up off that retaining wall and come and turn around the corner. I was behind the bush. Dumbass.
I was behind the bush.
But number one, you don't own the building you live in. So if you're going to send your kids to school, you have to understand that is an environment where we have to welcome everybody because they are entitled to be there. Number two, your kids are not being beguiled by gay kids at school. Your children are going to school and calling those children awful names when they haven't even been addressed by them, and then beating the shit out of them. And I don't just see it on social media. I see it every day in person.
Literally in life.
So, and I don't think Cat Williams and Dave Chappelle obsessing over this issue or these multiples of issues, really, when you talk about the broader spectrum of unsolicited homophobia we get from even just those two individuals specifically, I don't think it's actually good for their children, because your children are going to perpetrate abuse at school.
Yeah.
And you were saying
no, but that's it. It wraps back around that like they are hurt individuals as well, like, and that it's just like feeding this fire that they expect something. Well, they're just asking for that violence. I have to put my mind in their mind where like they want this to be like. Because whatever that big $10 word was, but like the that's the same idea as putting them all on an island and
letting them fight it out. Well, because that's the real problem. That's what the real criminals, the people that are really evil, that's what they want.
Right.
They want brown people to beat the shit out of queer people so that we don't band together to acknowledge the actual problem, which is the people taking all the rights away, all look the same, and they don't look like the two groups of people that are fighting.
And they're working
Right.
off of their own concocted reality.
So one thing that you were saying, this reminded me of two things that I had been doing like earlier this month. The first was post a therapy session. My therapist suggested I read this book called Homecoming. And it's about reclaiming your inner wounded child. So I read like the first half of it. I should probably keep reading it because it's not good to start and not finish it. But the whole thing about it is
You got to get all the way there. You got to get your arms around the child.
Well, the whole thing about it is that everybody has inside of them this like inner wounded, not necessarily traumatized, but those things, those layers of even just if it's an older brother punching you in the arm your whole life, those things, those bruises still are there even as you go on. Even if you are very good at repressing those emotions or repressing those memories, they still exist. And so it's nice to look at people in a different light and think like, oh, this person's in pain, that's why they're being mean to me. Like working in a library now, that's kind of a common occurrence. It's not that different than when I worked at Quick Trip, except when I worked at Quick Trip, when someone would call me stupid, I felt bad. I thought, you can't talk to me like this.
Yeah.
Why are you talking to me like this? But now in an environment where I see people who are literally at their worst and they're calling me the F slur, I have to just imagine like there's something wrong. Like something happened to you. I'm okay, Yeah. But this is a reality. And another thing is the other book I was reading at the same time was that comedy Bible. Because of that comedy class that I was telling you about, where the teacher basically said, like gay people feel like they're being treated worse than everybody else. And the reality is you can make fun of anybody you want. And the whole thing about this guy's conversation was like, jokes are meant to be funny as long as it makes sense. It's funny. It doesn't matter who it offends.
Yeah.
And, it just was wrong, according to the book.
Well, and the thing that is so...
Did I make any sense?
Yes.
Yes,
Are you
did,
kidding?
absolutely.
Is the problem I have heard from the Black community in totally civil conversation is that, and I want to point out the parts of it that make sense to me, is that all of a sudden there are certain affluent, elderly, rich white men that want to become women. And so now, see, the GOP likes to act like it's because we legalized same-sex marriage, which is not actually when it happened.
Right.
We would still be talking about that first, probably, if we weren't talking about trans issues. But also, trans issues are not inherently directly gay issues for everybody.
Right.
So there's a problem with people are oversimplifying these issues a lot of the time and acting like everybody, even in this room, are the same. And we're not all experiencing these issues the same way at all.
Right.
And even though we started as, again, parents, you get A, B, or C.
A, B, or C.
And it's very different. Those, but that also that the issues of civil rights for Black Americans have not gone away as we've started to also try to address civil rights issues for other types of Americans, like immigrants or same-sex couples or transgendered individuals, or what have you. Because while Caitlyn Jenner gets to do whatever, gets to fly her plane in Malibu, Black children are still
Malibu.
getting
Malibu, baby.
Buckle up, Buckaroo. It's Malibu, baby. Where are my kids? Where are they? This is my plane. We could do that all day. While Caitlyn Jenner is flying her plane up and down Malibu, which is real, Black children who are unarmed, and like we talked about last week, often running in the other direction, are still getting shot in the back and killed by police.
Yeah.
But this is the problem. The cops aren't often gay. We would love if all the cops were gay.
Are you serious? I know at least 2 lesbian cops.
But when Dave Chappelle chooses to take 20 minutes to point out to everybody, transgendered rights and Black rights are not the same. The struggles are not the same. Whatever the whole thing is, really, he should be talking about the real damage that's being done, which is the people we're not talking about for 20 minutes at the top of your stand-up special for no reason, which is the people who are actually throwing people from your community in prison, are actually taking their rights away, or shooting them over Skittles often. That's like a joke on the internet now, is that, oh, we got a kid with some Skittles, because it happens so often that a kid gets shot by an armed security officer because they have a hoodie pocket full of Skittles. So of course, the issues are not the same. And I think the anger comes from, hey, wait a minute, we still haven't fixed this issue of disproportionate imprisonment and police brutality, for example, just as one example.
Right.
We still haven't fixed this issue. And now, because rich white men sometimes want to be rich white women, that now I have to spend all my time thinking about this. But then it becomes, you spend so much time talking about how you don't want to talk about something that then you're the one talking about it.
I just wish that it's really
it's
just,
the
it's
Taylor
an exposure
Swift,
issue.
It's the Taylor
I think.
Swift phenomenon. It really is. It's the idea that Taylor Swift keeps perpetuating a narrative about how I don't want you guys to be talking about me this way anymore, but every album is about that same topic.
Yeah.
So you're still talking about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah. I mean, why does Dave Chappelle have to take 15 minutes to talk about trans issues every Netflix special?
Because he's so
he's annoyed. He's annoyed.
Yeah.
It's because
he's annoyed, because I think what really is going to happen is that these guys are going to find out that, or they're finding out that they're really not that funny anymore. You know,
they're too isolated. It's not just
it's
being
not
wealthy,
that
but it's
intelligent anymore.
Yeah. And they're not involved enough in the climate that they got famous for responding to then respond to the climate that same way.
But it could also be as easy as a business decision too.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, it's definitely
it's a
choice.
It's working.
It's a choice.
But
that's the other thing. It's just like what Trump did with truck stop whites by complaining about Mexicans and acting like we have an actual problem with Mexicans. Don't get me started. That it mobilized a base.
Yeah.
That was under-mobilized anyway, certainly politically, to, give a shit about something that even probably most of them wasn't affecting them, but they like the idea of not liking that thing. And so it's happening the same way with, what if we direct our message at cisgendered Americans that know us already, or just cisgendered Black Americans that are going to agree with us, in the case of Dave Chappelle, for example.
Right.
Or that's his target audience, at least to him.
Yeah, and they're just rebrewing a fire that was already there with.
They're just what are some people upset about? Can we grow that? Can we grow that upset?
Yeah.
Well, and you notice, I think there is more attention being drawn to high school sports, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which is weird. Did you play sports at high school?
No.
Did you play sports at high school?
Softball.
I was a
A, B, or C,
kid.
baby. A, B, or
Right.
C.
I took co-ed recreational sports twice senior year in high school for my gym
I
credit.
skipped gym class my freshman year because I was so afraid of it. So I had to take it
Middle
my
school
sophomore
gym
year.
was so traumatizing for me.
Only running days for me was the most traumatizing.
Oh my God.
Or those
the mile. God.
I was just thinking about this today. I used a scanner in high school to doctor up a doctor's note because I got drunk during my IP period at home, and I came back up to school for philosophy club, but I was wearing flip-flops because I didn't want to wear socks. And I was running through the parking lot, and I came off the curb, and I stepped on my foot sideways like this and broke my farther rightmost phalange, but back in the joint.
Oh.
And then
Yikes.
I had a doctor's note that said I could be out of gym class for 3 weeks, but I went into the school library during my IP period, and scanned it, and then I had cut up a thing that said 3 months.
Love it.
And I glued it over. I glued it over, and then I rescanned it.
You gotta rescan.
And then I had a fresh motherfucker,
dude.
And so then, I should have made it 4 months,
Dude.
because then I had not
The
been
rest
in
of the year.
I didn't take gym class at all from May of 2005 until August of 2008, which means I didn't do any intentional exercise in the entire time. Not any. None at all.
None at all.
And at most, I'd walk home 2 blocks from wherever I was, but begrudgingly.
Did you play sports?
No.
So speaking of doctoring things as a child, I was in 4th grade and I had this like Little Tikes play set that was like a desk and there would be like a light underneath so you could like trace stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took one of my mom's like the negatives of the checks, that she had, and I had like a detention.
They're always listening.
Who's listening?
Who's that?
The NSA. They just told me that I wanted to watch something that Tim was telling me about earlier.
Oh, that's fucked.
What was it?
So anyway, I had like a demerit or whatever you call it that my parents had to sign.
Yeah.
And I went home and I took the thing and then I put the check underneath and then I just traced her. Okay, I traced her signature, but here's the thing is that I messed up and that's when erasable pens were like hot. And so I brought this fucking smudged up bullshit fucking
I did that once.
bullshit fucking forged thing and they fucking knew. She like took me outside and I was like, my sister was like pushing up my mom a lot so she had to keep erasing it and
the lies you
Janet.
tell.
you gotta commit. You gotta go full commit.
Janet Peabody caught me in... Actually, this is paired with another core memory of mine that I think I've talked about on the show. But
Excuse me.
let's go in order. That I'm in math class with this girl Sarah, and I say, Sarah, I need you to write a note for Jim as my mom, and she's really uncomfortable with it because this is not the kind of school where a lot of this stuff happens. But I get her to do it in her own handwriting. And then, for some reason, I felt the need, because she did it in pencil. Yeah. So I felt the need to go over her handwriting in pen.
No.
So she does a perfect handwritten mom note in pencil. And then I go over each letter like a serial killer and go over the pencil with a black pen. And then I try to give that to Janet Peabody. And she calls me out. And I said, okay, can I just go dress out for Jim? And then she decides to squash it if I call my mom and tell her what I did, which I did.
My teacher straight up called my mother.
Here's the thing. The reason I did that is because I didn't want to do what happened next.
Okay.
Which involves me going to get dressed out, which I already didn't want to do. And then I have to do a solo jump rope routine that I've composed myself.
Are you serious?
On camera, set to music. In front of the entire gym class who are lined up across the wall in front of me like communist East German Olympic judges.
This is public school.
This is public school. And Mr. Moore...
You would not make a boy do that with a jump rope in a Catholic school.
Mr. Moore, who's probably having cirrhosis on his boat right now. He's retired. He loved his little boat. And he liked whiskey. He was an Irishman. He was handsome. But he walked fucked up because of a high school football injury. And every time he talked to me, if it was not about me being in trouble because I didn't want to be in a middle school gym class, though there I was about how I should play football next year.
I heard that so much.
In high school. And I'm like, brother, you can't walk over here straight to tell me that. You can't, because you played football in high school, you can't walk over here to tell me to play football in high school. But let me go ahead. You're right. No, I'll smash them.
Absolutely.
I love physical activities. I love getting naked with other men. I love it.
You know, if I had realized that sooner, I could have had a way different experience.
There's a reality where we have a approach to homosexuality that is more Roman, and that us playing football in high school would have been a dream for us.
Totally.
It would have been really nice. And I would have gotten some of that paternal validation I was missing from my brothers in war.
Absolutely.
And we would have gone out there, baby, and we would have put points on the board, Daddy. I would run a route, Mama. Because I know that we're all going to cuddle later, and they're all really worried about how I'm doing.
I just can't wait for the showers.
Right.
And the showers would have been a celebratory time.
Celebratory.
It would have been a celebration of life and triumph. And it wouldn't have been about fear.
All drinking from the same trough at the same time.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been, please don't look at my inferior Johnson. Look at his. It wouldn't have been, please don't look at my body. Look at that guy's crazy body.
Yeah.
Look at the anatomy on that gentleman. Is what it would have been. But I mean,
Yeah.
the translation got fucked up because actually I've been thinking about this a lot because as I've been out of therapy and then this week accidentally off of my Paxadoodles, which is it's good for the free thinking,
Yes.
a little too free.
Mhm.
But the Roman Empire didn't die; it transmorphed its essence into the church, and then the Church of England picks up the torch and builds that empire. And then during World War II, the Empire of England is on its last leg. It's not going to survive. And so it transmorphs its essence into what became the United States.
No.
Yes, that's exactly how it all happened. I watched it happen. I was on mushrooms in the woods.
That's not how American history happened.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we were able to come in there and knock the Nazis back, because Russia had already sacrificed most of their military to beat back the Nazi menace.
This sounds.
We weren't
suspicious.
in that shit until Pearl Harbor.
That's
baby.
true.
Yeah, but then when Pearl Harbor happened,
What
church.
does it have to do with Romans?
Oh, because I'm saying the lineage of power globally went from the Roman Empire to then
I see what
the
you're
Roman
saying.
Catholic Church,
Okay.
which then, as it weakened over time, as the Empire of England grew, the Church of England kind of picked up that torch and was the world superpower. But England was not going to survive World War II without us, and that's when
Episcopalians.
and that's when that all happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so. But so that lineage somewhere in there, the part that I would have loved to see in my own student sports experience as a young man, we lost that part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people don't know how to bring it back because they don't have the fundamentals.
I think that they did have it. It just was really inappropriate.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I wanted.
It was.
I would have liked a different experience than I
Maybe
had.
it didn't happen in public schools.
Oh, tell me about Catholic school sporting.
Fuck, I have no idea. I stayed away from it.
At any point, what was your athletic experience like? They had to force you to do something at some point. You did Catholic for the whole time?
What?
You did Catholic school the whole time?
Yeah.
The whole time?
The whole time.
Catholic sporting is a event.
That's what the clip
that
is going to be
happens-
called. Catholic sporting.
Catholic sporting. Well, it's different because it's like,
It's like we call it CYC.
yeah, Catholic youth something.
Yeah.
So parishes have different teams.
Yeah, and anybody can play. It doesn't matter who.
Kind of. Boys are on their own team. Girls are on their own team.
Well, okay, that makes
Right.
sense. I'm talking like quality level
Right.
of athlete.
I think that's true up until
Oh,
a certain point.
I'm more just interested in the experience.
I was.
It depends. Okay, yeah.
It got too competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the thing. It's not for everybody because I think that it was probably designed for kids to go out and play sports, but then as kids get older, it becomes more competitive. And so then if you're not a competitive kid, it's not an environment for you.
Yeah.
Or at least let me say this, they don't make it an environment for you.
Right.
You know, like I was not good at playing sports. So it wasn't an enjoyable experience for me. I didn't give a fuck about standing out there in the middle of a field with fucking bugs.
I love to just imagine your posture in the uniform. And just your disapproving posture.
I hated it. Yeah.
I hate it. That's what you're saying.
But the other thing is I had two brothers who were so good at it. Right. So like our life growing up revolved around CYC baseball, all the tournaments, going to different parishes, or then eventually like select baseball or high school ball, having to go around to all those games. So what am I trying to get at?
Your experience on the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know. I don't think it's really that interesting of an experience.
Well, but that's the thing, because it was
aspect.
you felt left. What's the word?
You were
felt
the opposite. Where like I come from a very competitive family. Like my parents did sports.
Yeah.
Like in like hospital.
They did hospital sports.
Hospitals.
They beat the shit out of sick people.
High school.
Yeah.
And
it's called hospice hockey.
I did all of the sports like growing up, like tried all of them, even roller hockey.
What grade are you in?
I am 80% done with my degree, so I think I'm a junior.
But do you have siblings, right?
Yeah, older brother and younger sister.
So you're right in the middle?
Yeah.
But did the brother play sports too?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So like you followed suit. I'm the last one.
Well, I was both like creative in music as well.
Yeah.
So like
you were just an all-star.
I didn't say that. But I mean, I think my lesbianism definitely aided to my wonderful softball career.
Must do it all the time thing.
I was the cleanup hitter,
and it was so allowed for you.
Yeah,
it was like this was a role for you.
Like you could like get a perfect ACT score. Like, you don't even apply to college.
When I came out as like a lesbian, they're like, okay,
they're like,
honey, you're wearing a tool belt. Honey, you're fixing the car that we're in right now.
Honey, you like girls? We all like girls.
Everybody likes girls. It's okay. Go ahead. I think it's the carburetor.
Yeah.
You might want to cut your hair short. You don't want to get too much dirt in it.
If it was only that wonderful.
What's with the cheering though? You know, the softball cheers, all those cheers at softball.
Oh, it's just I don't know. It's just a way to
camaraderie.
Yeah, it's a way to pep it up.
They gotta do something to kill the time because the ball is so much slower.
Yeah, you gotta pump up your team. You gotta keep the focus.
Yeah, but I wanted to be able to do that while playing instructionally baseball, but that was just a bit too fruity.
Mm-hmm.
Instructional league?
Yeah, you know, like you have the coach telling you how to play.
Is that a thing?
I think I
yeah,
so.
up until a certain point.
Yeah,
you go from wearing.
You wanted to do instructional league at 14.
Was this the experience for you? Like you go from wearing a CYC like T-shirt.
Yeah.
To then all of a sudden the real uniform.
Yes.
Right. And then it's competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Once you go from the T-shirt to like that vinyl.
Once you go from wearing, it's like polyester and you have to actually wear a cup.
My nephews play on a CYC team and they have their names on the back of their shirts now.
See, that's because it's money. I don't know. They're getting them from Temu.
It's Troy.
Temu.
Fucking Temu again. Temu.
They are blowing me up.
Are they?
I fucked up. I get the text messages. I get the emails.
Yeah.
I get the push notifications.
You can't have that relationship with Temu if you're a hoarder.
I know, but it's going to take me like it's going to literally.
I'm not getting anything from them.
It's going to take me about 14 minutes to go through my phone and really correct the issue that's been happening for several months, and I just haven't been able to muster up the strength.
You know, think like a billionaire. Spend like a billionaire.
Spend everyone else's money.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Because really what you're buying is surplus merchandise from things that didn't work out.
Tim, did you know that that's their slogan?
Temu?
Yeah.
Shop like a billionaire.
Shop like a
also
billionaire.
Pronounced Temu?
Temu.
We all found that out during this last year's Super Bowl.
During the Super Bowl, the first time I had ever heard it said, everyone had said
it was
Temu.
Like, Temu, Temu,
Temu,
Temu, come
say
get your shit
it right.
It's like this whole like infographic sort of.
Did you not watch the Super Bowl, Tim?
No.
That's the problem.
But this is Taylor Swift's Super Bowl. I can't believe as a gay man you would
this is the problem.
I did watch it because I did want to see Travis Kelce and the other guy.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. No. Isn't Patrick Mahomes the guy that sounds like Kermit the Frog?
Yes.
Not him. The other cute one.
Wait.
On the other side.
Yes.
On the other
Who do
side.
They play again?
Can we talk
the
about
49ers?
Yeah, he was a 49er.
Who is the cutie over there? Fuck.
Who was the halftime show? No. Wasn't like it
was opposite of Travis Kelce, the other tight end over there.
Yeah,
a Kittle.
Nope. I don't know.
Did he have long hair?
What's the Catholic guy's name? The kicker.
I don't remember. Is he the one
Butker? He's
the guy that did the speech.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
What happened?
I think that Catholics were just doing what Catholics do, and the world got angry.
So do you think he was invited to speak in that capacity?
Yeah.
Oh, to like give some sort of message about like
he was informed. I think that they asked him because they probably know he's Catholic. He's probably said some Catholic things, and so like I feel like you don't invite somebody and not know their rhetoric.
So
right,
but why did he feel the need to do that? To say that?
Because he loves his wife so much. He wanted to give his wife like
he's so happy his wife is in the kitchen.
Yes.
So he could wear those ridiculous
suits.
He's
so thankful for his wife. And that is like felt really close to my home because my mom is like a homemaker, but also a working woman too. Had to do both.
This is what aggravates me. If you really want a woman who's going to stay at home and do all the home shit, pay for that bitch to stay at home and do some home shit. What are you sending this? You want this woman to be in the kitchen and doing the kids and doing the laundry and she's going to work?
Like I think it definitely got it got twisted because
I thought he was basically saying like women stay home, like don't go to work.
He was saying like because I read
No.
it, and part of
I
it
did not-
I didn't read it.
I
so-
read it, and
I
part of
didn't
it
either. I was not
was
interested.
the part of it that was excerpt for the article I had started with was about how there's a lot of young women in the audience who are excited about their new degrees, but I hope you're equally as excited. At that point, my brain turns it into to get back in the kitchen. But it was, I
Yeah.
think he literally at one point used the word kitchen and was describing how the only reason he can be successful is because his wife is so next level, like
And-
supportive and
And I agree with that sentiment. Like, if a woman wants to be that homemaker, that is an absolutely valid job.
yeah.
To,
But
like,
don't
raise
send that
kids.
woman to work.
But
Why don't you
don't-
get up there, stack some bands?
But don't tell a bunch of educated, like,
single women.
single women.
Right.
There's no. Are they? Unless they're all pregnant.
But I think he was trying to validate the half of the college that are going to be that. But also, I would be their parents, be like, so I spent $70,000 for what?
No shit.
You know,
Why
Well,
did
that's
you-
the thing.
Right.
It's like,
$70
wait,
for
why
what?
would you
Right.
tell my Why would you tell my beautiful daughter to take all of her student loan debt and just go straight into the kitchen?
Right?
She better be on the gram making some enchiladas.
Yeah.
Or also, like, why are you telling the young men who are graduating in this audience that that's the only that they don't
I think it was
also
an
have a
all-girls
role?
college.
What?
I think it was an all girls college.
Oh, was it?
Wasn't it?
Oh, maybe you're
It-
right.
It was a
It was an all women college.
Catholic liberal
Benedict.
arts school.
Benedict.
I thought it was Morehouse.
Well, no. Morehouse, isn't that where Biden spoke at Morehouse? I thought.
Well, we got to look it up. Somebody's got to look it up. You looking it up? I don't know his name. I don't know the school's name. I actually was never even successfully baptized Catholic because I ran and hid. That's a true story. I was waiting for my mom to tell, but she doesn't want to do the show because she doesn't.
She needs to.
She's
much.
so Catholic, she doesn't feel worthy of being on
Who?
camera. My mom.
What parish?
Well, they tried to
Harrison
baptize me at
Butker
St. Mary
was
Magdalene,
his name.
but they didn't go well. And I don't know why they waited.
Yeah, President Biden spoke at Morehouse.
Well, where did the kicker speak at?
What's his name?
Maybe his name's Morehouse.
Harrison Butker.
Butker?
Butker.
That's awful.
At what school?
I don't know. You know, he also said some other stuff too.
It was Benedictine College.
Oh, that was the name of it?
Yeah.
I see. I sometimes I just read headlines, and sometimes they're next to other headlines with other words in them, and I remember it all, but then all together. Dean, how's it going in there?
Good, Jacob.
Oh, good.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So when you hid from your baptism, do you remember where?
Yeah, so it wasn't completely unsupervised, and my brother was a real charlatan. He was really going along with it. We had gotten dressed up, and my aunts and uncles were there, my grandparents, and we go into the Catholic church where I was going to school at the time, and but the whole ceremony of the whole thing and the guy's outfit, the priest, I'm sorry, forgive me, creeped me out.
vestments.
And this is actually common with kids of this age, certainly in the last 30 years, that the traditional pageantry of the Catholic Church scares them because they're used to it being the bad guys in Batman or something.
Yeah.
Like at my Aunt Donna's wedding. At my Aunt Donna's wedding, my cousin Dusty, who was small, the deal was, if you can get these flowers down this aisle, brother, we're going to buy you that tractor you've been asking for.
Yeah.
And it was like a toy tractor. It was a big one. It was nice. But we had never practiced it with the organ.
Mm.
And then the cathedral organ kicks in, and he's scared for his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to get him down that aisle. He's really upset.
Down there.
So I was having a similar reaction, Dean, in that I didn't run and hide out of view of my family, but I ran and clung to eventually my aunt, I believe, who was supposed to be what I called at the time my fairy godmother. I told her on the way out, "You're not
cute.
going to get to be a fairy godmother after all,"
Yeah.
because I was a little shit. But it was really my brother was way into the oil and shit and doing all this, and I just didn't necessarily, I hadn't been prepared by my family for that experience. You think you would, ideally he would know the priest because you're active in that church community, but my parents were 24, so that wasn't happening.
Mm.
And so I didn't know that guy. It wasn't his fault. But I didn't know him. I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, you know I hate going to kindergarten here, and I don't know this dude.
Yeah.
And I'm down with the outfit. I'm down with everyone being all together. I'm down with I'm down with committing my soul to your God even.
Mhm.
But can we make it feel safer with the dude in the cloth?
Right.
And so that was a bad vibe. But I mostly just clung and hid. But
Mhm.
same place, same building where.
This was just last spring.
Yeah, this was just recently. I was born
The
Jewish. And-
bush, was it the same bush?
Yeah, no, well, it was the same building,
burning
and so, but
bush.
we were in the sanctuary when I got scared and hid. They didn't have to chase me out of the building, but the same building, we're just outside is that bush where I sat and hid, and apparently they had to call people, and it was a big ordeal. I was missing for 90 minutes, but I literally never moved from behind that bush.
Wait, was this
Wow.
this was twice? This was at your
These are
baptism
two separate events.
and in kindergarten.
Well,
Love
which
the
was
bush.
on the same campus in the
What
same
else
building.
were you doing
He's a
in that
bushman.
bush?
Here's the thing I learned as an adult, that this was only half day morning kindergarten.
Right.
So I couldn't hack it from 9:30 to
Nope.
noon.
Yeah.
I was the same way.
Yeah. I couldn't do it.
Actually, I could handle kindergarten. I was a crier in the first grade.
First grade
Hmm.
also sucked. I was in Afton at that point, and that was like a goddamn gulag. It was like as awful as the Catholic school, but with none of the fake, like, this is a great institution, you're a part of a faith that rules the world or anything. That had that vibe at St. Mary Magdalene. When I got to Mainier and the Afton gulag for children,
Mhm.
none of that. None of even, because it was free. So none of even what I was used to was at least that you have to be as good as these other kids because you're one of them,
Mhm.
right? When you get to public school, it's like you are out of control.
Mm.
You are crazy. None of these other kids are like you.
Really?
You know, that was my experience with Xandra Jackson in the second grade.
Oh wow.
It even upset my father how mean she was to me. These people are all retired or mostly deceased, so I can say this.
Yeah.
But ultimately,
I
that's
mean,
what.
even if they were still alive, why can't you say it?
That's right, Xandra.
Yeah.
She's probably still alive,
Xandra.
torturing
It's
somebody.
It's just, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is,
But then my
She was
third
an
grade teacher
adult.
went on to be a hero. My third grade teacher became, when we moved to Kirkwood, was third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And my third grade teacher went on to be the superintendent of Maplewood Richmond Heights at a time where they had to make a lot of positive changes,
Mhm.
and they were able to do so under her leadership in a way that I think she could take some credit for.
Yeah.
At least a little bit. Now, having worked in schools, we know the superintendents are not nearly as hands-on or as effective as we'd like them to be. Maybe. But in that case, but that's how different it was the Catholic school didn't work, and then public school, like a shitty public school by my grandmother's house, wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
It was shitty at the time. If your kids are there now, whatever.
Whatever.
But the leadership is a problem. The kids there are probably beautiful, but I'll tell you to your face.
at a Catholic
I'll tell you
school?
to your face. Afton School
Oh.
District has some
Afton.
problematic people in the upper ups, Daddy. I'll tell you that to their
I'm glad
face.
to hear that though, because I thought maybe if one day I decide to go back to teaching, I would look at Afton just because I live there, but maybe not.
No, and all my friends that are still at Bayless are miserable. And my experience there was so negative, so
Mhm.
What's
profoundly
making them so
negative.
miserable?
The ideology of the leadership. They're in the classroom with kids from other countries, all sorts of economic backgrounds, social backgrounds, more diversity on the faith spectrum than I've ever seen anywhere else. And then they have, for years, I'm sure they're going to name the football field after him, they had a superintendent who bought donuts for the entire staff when Trump got elected.
Oh,
and-
God.
Wow.
And sent an email out saying, it's a great day to be American, enjoy the donuts on me.
Yikes.
When you know
Spikes.
most of those teachers did not vote for Trump.
No.
You just know that if
Lord.
you've ever worked at a group of teachers, you know how a lot of them end up voting, and it wasn't that way that time. And bought them all donuts. And then, so he's the head of, and it was a very small district, much smaller at the time than it will be. And so it was very small. His office was in the basement of the building that I was teaching in. So it's not like he's some guy that sits in a building somewhere else. He doesn't have any influence ideologically on the campus,
Yeah.
right? But then I have kids who are refugees from the Middle East or from
Uh-huh.
South America or from all over Southeast Asia.
Mhm.
And we have a huge second generation now Bosnian population there. I don't work there anymore. Legally distinct. And cut that. And that's no answer.
Dear AI,
Yeah.
will you please cut that
AI,
from the
AI, will you
videos?
make sure that you just replace all the real names with fake names?
Yeah.
And thank you, Siri. And
Can you please add a beauty filter?
But
to
that's the
me?
thing. When I was there, I had some of the most beautiful and intelligent and fun and creative children I'd ever met from all over the world who live in all kinds of situations. And then everyone who was in charge of everything and telling you what to do and how to do it was
That's
like
terrible.
not the kind of person that any of us usually like to spend our time with, I'll
Right.
say.
Yeah, yeah.
At
And
least.
that's all in Afton. Afton is such a diverse area, I feel. I mean, I live
Oh,
there.
yeah. And a
And
lot of
they're
the
not-
teachers are great.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of the mid-level leadership, like instructional personnel and whatnot, a lot of them are great. And actually, I do know for a fact, the lady that's taken over as a superintendent, she seems like a really nice lady. I got to work with her a little bit. She was like a math specialist or something, and she's great. But yeah, at the time that I was there, and a lot of the leadership that I'm sure is in place, because it takes so long for that stuff to kind of breed out through attrition and whatnot.
Love it when it breeds out.
It breeds out through attrition. And attrition is also fucked up. If they're telling you it's attrition, that means people have to give up on something and just leave.
Yes.
So it's negative, kids. If the people are saying, oh, well, through attrition, we were able to shrink the size of our staff, that means they just didn't hire people after people quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is whack. You don't want to be the one left there working.
You wait until people leave and then you make a change.
And then you make a change after they're all gone. Because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
cheaper to make that change with no people working
Yeah.
there. And
So if you hear that in wherever you're at, that means that they're waiting
Yeah.
for you to leave if you have a view that's opposite of them.
And we've talked about this on this show before, that I have a friend who I've known since third grade who is like unable to work, and she's really unwell, and she's really crazy. And she was not always that way. And she explains and firmly believes, I've talked to her on the phone about this several times, and so that there's a situation in high school where she was like inappropriately addressed in some way, or physically touched inappropriately in some way, and she was heavily at the time gaslit by the assistant principal and the principal at the time that we were there, and kind of like bullied out of ever really pursuing anything about it. There was some documentation that she had filed a complaint or something, but never really got to pursue that. And then 15 years later, we're coming up on she's schizophrenic and a mess and has never really been able to do anything, even though up until she was 18, she was totally like functioning in that school system alongside me. And then those people all have like awards and like parts of buildings named after them, and
Wow.
there's no restorative justice of any kind. I'm not even saying I want any of them to apologize to her, because I wouldn't put her through having to interact with them. But that like there's no balance in her equation. And I don't even know that a sum of money would help.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Well, what you can't get back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll mess up somebody down their lives. Like you said, like they had a spiral.
And that's
right?
been the thing with the P. Diddy stuff, not to bring that back up, that, I mean, so many of these victims that have come forward in these lawsuits were children at the time. Some of them, especially some of the young women, were 15, 16. And then, their lives haven't been great since then, because they had nobody to advocate for them in that situation where they were abused in some way. And then were, coerced to not communicate about it for so many years. And then still justice isn't really being served. Dean, where is Diddy right now?
Probably with some lawyers
but abroad. He's like he can go pee on his own.
Yeah.
If he has to
he just did that apology video too.
Right. He's making his own apology videos. Yeah, he's not wearing orange in any of those apology videos. So if I was one of his victims, I would still feel kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And undervalued by the supposed justice system. And I'm not even one of those people. You know what I mean? But what I mostly interact with and really try to make a positive influence on every day is a lot of my colleagues are younger women of color or older women of color who have really been abused or neglected or underserviced by the systems they've been living in, and mostly serving really well the whole time, and then just not thanked for that at all. And so I don't even get to witness. Imagine if one of those women that I know are living in defiance of what they know their own value to be, based off how it's reflected in their environment, that if one of them was put in a situation where they were being abused by a billionaire and then no justice was being served, I totally believe it would happen that way.
Yeah.
And then two, I don't know how I would be able to function as like in that circumstance.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it bothers me and it doesn't bother other people, because other people obviously don't understand that it's even happening.
Like you say, why does it bother you?
Well, because obviously it should, because it's horrible, right? It's not.
Yeah.
But why doesn't it bother more people?
Because it's not directly in their purview.
Yeah.
It's especially if it's a difference of race, like it's even more in their purview.
Especially because we're so
Louis.
segregated, like
in St. Louis directly.
Yeah.
Yes, and or there's, they just don't feel like it's like their place to help or whatever. But
because what can you do?
What can you do? But I think just continuing to, like you said, like kind of like
challenges the reality that they've constructed that they live in every day.
Yes,
because they have to acknowledge something has to change about their reality.
That's actually what I was saying earlier about there's an exposure problem.
Yeah.
It's an exposure issue. They are not exposed to enough.
Yeah,
like they've been shut out of just seeing life in other different colors or spectrums because they keep moving the goalpost. Whether it's, like if we're going to talk about St. Louis specifically, like the 50s, that white flight that happened to over the river, and then it just keeps expanding. But without, I feel like in the political climate, the lack of exposure is leading to misinformation and lies, just straight up like lies about about issues that involve trans people. Like the documentation of these like harmful things that have happened to kids is like, I don't think
you're
I've
mobilizing
seen
a population who should be upset about what they're experiencing against a population that they don't have any natural interaction with very often. For almost as if on purpose. It's like it doesn't necessarily
it's antagonizing.
And it doesn't make sense because an aspiring black comedian who's upset about gay issues that he hears so much about, or trans issues that he hears so much about, is living next door to a trans person, and they're both getting screwed out of their health benefits by the same people.
Yes.
And those people look a lot more like me than they do like either of those people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, what if they're playing the game? I mean, that's what we do as like humans in this society, just as society standards. Like we all have to play the game in some sort of way, or we don't, and then we go sovereign, and that's kind of sick too. But
that would be cool. You would have to be in charge of that, though. I can't be. You're militant enough, I think, to lead a battalion.
Militant. That's a great word.
Yeah, I'm not that. We just expressed for an hour and a half how not militant we are.
Yeah, I can't fight in a war.
I
don't
can't
know what's
fight
going
in a
on.
war.
A
war?
A war? No.
Well, okay. So Tim, can we talk about? This would be a fun way to end the show because we are running out of time.
Okay,
but can we talk about the conditions that would have to be in place for us to agree to fight in a war?
Ooh.
Let's talk about just amenities and environment.
Okay.
For a minute.
So the thing is, if I'm going to have to fight in a war, like what has to be?
So for me, this is what I'm picturing.
Yeah. Or give me one example of something.
I need
Don't go through your whole list.
it to not function like this country needs democracy model that we have right now.
No.
I need it to function more like the Olympics, where all of the interested parties are meeting at an organized climate controlled location.
Oh, so basically
100%.
basically under the conditions of we move warfare to esports and solely esports, then you're battling. You're in.
I couldn't do a regular.
I don't know that it has to be. I'm
mind-
not saying I won't fight physically and that I won't physically kill other people. I'm not saying that because
that's a lot of
that's the thing. Please don't expect me to do that.
No, I'm not saying that I won't do that, but you got to bring them to the Kia Forum, and I need Diet Coke. I need a green room. I have my own shower. I know they got them in there. Don't fuck me on this.
Yeah.
And I, of course, need the adequate equipment that you give us. I'm not asking for extra equipment, But the amenities, but we're going to save so many of those amenities not setting up these barracks abroad. And I mean, I'll bring my own wet wipes. Even.
I see what you're saying. So basically, like, if we're gonna go and mobilize, we're gonna have to go in style. It's gonna be like glam.
Yeah,
we're
whereas
glam.
Lucius will live under moss in a barn
absolutely
still for several days to get a perfect shot if it means achieving the objective. Whereas me, I'm gonna forget to check on Lucius after the third time. And I'm going to complain that Lucius isn't there doing more of the chores.
Yeah, wait.
God fucking damn it! Where is Lucius? My laundry's not done. Your laundry's not done. This camp is a mess.
Right. I want to be the person that's like feeding the fire to keep it going while the cooking.
Guys.
Yeah, you're cooking fire. You're seated at the campfire.
Yeah,
and then I come out of the tent and the place is a mess and it's just you and me and I'm furious. And you know why? Because we forgot Lucius is in a barn.
Right.
Motionless.
But Lucius is in that barn protecting us. Like that's the thing.
I would have been none the wiser.
Protecting democracy.
Like if you would have told me that's the conversation you would have had, I would have been pissed. Like you didn't come and get me. You were supposed to, but if I would do it.
I know that's the thing because you do the things get done when you do them. You know what I mean? And that's a huge part of what I love about you. Now, my thing is, we would also eliminate this problem where people who are not trying to participate in the war are injured or killed in war. Because
that can't happen.
You're not going to pick up a whole wedding from a country and put them in the Colosseum with me for a war game.
We don't have to, like, that's just it. Why do we have to kill people?
Yeah.
I'm even down with not killing them. I think the problem is that they don't agree to the terms of the match, and so they're going to continue to live in defiance of democracy if we don't kill them. I think must be the thing.
Truly, if it was just one giant pillow fight in the Coliseum, you know,
this is exactly what we wanted high school football to be like,
right?
Yeah,
and it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd both be in the NFL right now,
having a weird limp.
If I got out of that shower,
half a brain
in the locker room, and then we immediately went into a big old pillow fight.
Yeah.
You just got to join the XFL.
I would be on the KC Chiefs right now.
Right.
I'd be the fat one. They'd be like, there's the fat one. There's, I don't know how to describe them all in a sensitive way because how I talk about them off camera is not polite because I don't like them very much because they're trying to sell me Pfizer. Why are they doing Pfizer commercials? Before they even won the Super Bowl, they were doing Pfizer commercials.
Ew.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
For the vaccine.
No, but why are football players selling me vaccines?
Because of the influence.
Because apparently the
people.
demographic, there's a crossover between unvaccinated and the demographic who watched Kansas City Chiefs football, so they have to blend the two.
I didn't even think about it like that.
I had not even thought about that yet. That's exactly why.
Middle America.
Yeah.
That's middle America.
Right. So they're like, who do we need to target?
We got to target. It turns out the only people who are still paying for cable, 90% of television ratings go to the NFL. 90% of all television ratings go to the NFL now, right?
Makes sense.
So people who are paying for cable are only watching the NFL, and some of those people are the types that may still not have any kind of vaccination at all.
Right.
And so they're saying, let's take the person that we know that they know, because if they're paying for cable, they know this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then tell them about the thing that they think they don't want.
Right.
And say, look, he's got it. He's your guy. Don't you want to have what your guy has?
Right.
Okay, so I hadn't thought about unvaccinated people because I was teaching in a public school when it all came down. So I
feel like you should think more. You should be on that thinking anyway, because I don't know why I said it like that, but like, didn't you have those signs hanging up in your cafeteria of like famous people drinking milk?
Yeah, Mark McGuire.
Right, and it was just like, here's our way of trying to get kids to drink more
I've
milk.
worked in some schools where those are still up.
Right. So it's the same. You get
Just
Travis
a
Kelce
steroid
to get...
advocate.
I worked as recently as since the pandemonium. I worked in a building where there was a Mark McGuire with a milk mustache still up in the cafeteria somewhere. It must have been backstage somewhere where the kids wouldn't have ripped it off by now in the 30 years since that was printed. Dean, how long are we at?
95 minutes.
We gotta go.
Oh, wow.
I got a
wow,
gig.
95.
I haven't eaten a single bite of food all day,
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
and I have to go play for the young ladies at the Alton VFW.
Yeah, I got an improv show tonight.
Yeah.
Pride kickoff
Ooh, where?
at the improv shop down the street in the Grove,
Okay.
right next to that White Castle.
What
In
time?
the corner.
Yeah, okay. I
10
want to
p.m.
go. Really? Do I
Yeah.
have to get tickets?
No,
Like, can
it's
I get
free.
tickets to the door? Oh. Okay, let me talk to Jeff when I get home.
Yeah.
Because I want to see you in action.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
how it
I'm
happens,
hosting.
folks.
Yeah.
Doorstop-Studio.square.site.
Yep.
CaddyshackIL.org. JacobV.com. Patreon.com/JacobV. No Antics. June 9th at the Sinkholes. Our next thing. We're back after a little breaky poo after the world tour. BBS is doing motherfucking Confluence Music Festival. I'm supposed to get indoctrinated into the Illuminati tomorrow with Ludacris
I
and
cannot
T-Pain.
wait. We're going to have a whole new Jacob V next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
This show they may say you can't keep the show. And there's a price tag.
You know.
There is a price tag where the show is worth something.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to agree.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see how we'll see.
see.
That may not come up immediately. I don't think Ludacris knows about it. He's supposed to be my liaison. So, we'll see if he knows about that yet.
Yeah. We'll see.
Shout out to Dean in the booth.
Shout out to Dean in the booth.
Dean, anything you want to plug?
Well, Doorstop and the Improv Shop already got a shout out.
Perfect. Yeah, we're doing Improv Shop tonight. I say royally. Lucius is doing it. I
And
won't
also,
be there.
I'm doing it June 7th and June 8th.
Oh my!
Yeah, I got a full fucking
Busy.
prideful.
Busy.
Well, my team is just a bunch of gender expansive people
Yeah.
that got started on Trans Day Visibility. And so now it's Pride Month, so we're making multiple appearances.
Well, praise God.
Praise him and her.
Them.
Praise them.
Yes.
PrideStream number 4 officially. Even if because the last one was officially 3.
Okay.
We have to.
I mean, if
So
I'm
this
starving.
is
you wanna
officially.
make that
I'm about to
lie.
die.
Okay.
We
Okay.
love you.
Love
Good
you.
Fun at
night.
Arby's.
Dean, go ahead.